Who is Judy?
You've already met Judy.
What do you mean I've met Judy? Who is Judy? Who is Judy?
Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge, the podcast where we watch Twin Peaks and talk about it. You're here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Marcus Marinos,
Riley Harris,
Tyler McKinley,
Mitchell Marshall,
Justin Hammer.
And this week we watched parts 15 and 16 of Season 3 of Twin Peaks. Part 15, There's Some Fear in Letting Go, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch and directed by David Lynch, originally airing August 20th, 2017. And Part 16, No Knock, No Doorbell, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, directed by David Lynch, and originally airing August 27th, 2017. And if you had to take a break in the middle of the episodes, run to the bathroom, or, I don't know, refill your water, missed a moment, don't worry, don't pause us, don't turn us off, because Mitchell's about to fill you in on every single moment. Go ahead, Mitchell, thanks.
Nadine tells Ed to run to Norma while carrying her shovel. She made him stay with her all these years, that bitch. Thanks to Dr. Amp, though, Ed is free. Live concert music plays while Ed bursts into the double R to tell Norma, who promptly chooses her current boo, Walter Von Douche, or seemingly. Norma then asks Walter to buy her out of the other 7 diners, then gets frisky with Ed. This makes no sense, but she accepts Ed's very prompt proposal. I've Been Loving You Too Long by Otis Redding continues to blast. Mr. C drives down a dark road and stops at the gas station from episode 8. He walks up the fire escape stairs and flickers out of existence. He's in a room with a zombie hobo looking for Philip Jeffries. A long walk through a house and a door takes him to a motel courtyard looking place. A woman doing reverse speak unlocks the door for him. Inside Philip Jeffries is a giant tea kettle. He says Mr. C has already met Judy. The phone rings. When he picks it up, it takes him back to the convenience store. Richard Horn is waiting outside, holding him at gunpoint. Mr. C disarms him and beats his ass, but also invites him along. The store bill of smoke and lights up, flickering from existence. Becky's boyfriend, Steven, and his new hoe cuddle by a mossy tree, Hobbit style. He is high and paranoid, but also bragging about graduating high school. They cry and tell each other why they like each other, and it seems to just be the sex. A man and his dog walk by, and they start to trip even harder. A gunshot goes off, but the man and his dog are safe. They return to the trailer park and let the trailer park dude know what just happened. At the roadhouse, James says hi to Renee in front of her husband, who beats James' ass, but then the British kid with the super punches knocks out he and his buddy. On FBI Las Vegas, a family is in the waiting room with the kids screaming. Also in Vegas, Chantal comes in and shoots and kills Roger and Mr. Todd. London Super Punch Boy, patent pending on that, trademark pending, sorry, on that superhero name, gets put in Twin Peaks jail. Along with James. No Eyes Lady is still chirping like a bird. Dougie eats chocolate cake for a very long time. He accidentally turns on the TV and hears the name Gordon Cole, which seems to prompt something. He begins to crawl towards an electrical outlet. He sticks his fork in, lights flicker, Naomi screams. Log Lady calls Hawk. She's dying, but it's a change, not an end. She refers to an old in-person conversation, and the one under the moon blew something mountain. It's all very confusing. Sheriff Truman, may the actor rest in the most peace, meets with the old gang. Hawk tells them Margaret kicked the bucket. Audrey and Charlie debate jackets and leaving who they are. She tackles him. I still don't know. At the roadhouse, 2 bikers remove a young lady from a booth, even though she was waiting for someone. She just watches the show pretzel style on the floor, then starts crawling and crying and finally screaming. Mr. C and Richard take a windy drive to the coordinates. Jerry Horn is wandering in the same area and spots them. He is too high to use the binocs correctly. Mr. C sends Richard to check out the exact location of the coordinates on a large boulder. He is electrocuted by vortex smoke and vaporized. Mr. C says, "Goodbye, my son." Chantal and Hutch stake out Dougie's house. 4 FBI agents shows up. Nobody is home, so they start their own stakeout. Dougie is in a coma at the hospital. He was electrocuted. The Mitchums bring a large get-well plant. Candy, Mandy, and Brandy or Sandy, I don't really remember, bring catered food. They grab a key to go stock the house. Sonny Jim goes pee. The insurance company told the FBI where Dougie is at the hospital. The Mitchum ladies arrive with the helpful food. The owner of the home where Chantal and Hutch stake out rams the van because they're in his way. A shootout ensues. The neighbor is hit with the car, but it's okay. He has a machine gun, so he shoots Butch and Chantal dead. The FBI and the Mitchums watch in shock, and the agents finally arrest the neighbor. Dougie wakes up and sees one-armed Mike. He is Cooper again. Mike warns him of Mr. C still being there and gives him the ring. Coop gets some sandwiches and orders everyone around in the sweetest Coop way possible. The Mitchums are gassing up the jet. Is that Twin Peaks music I hear? Coop says goodbye and that he is in the FBI to his boss. Coop does, in fact, use his blinker very well. Diane gets Mr. C's text that says all, but she also has a physical reaction to a feeling and says she remembers. She sends a very long code and has a gun in her clutch. She heads upstairs and walks slowly to a heavy beat. Gordon Cole has an ominous look on his face and calls her into the room. She pulls cigarettes out of her purse and recounts communications 4 years after her communications with Cooper 4 years after he disappeared. He walked into her place and grilled her about the bureau. He started to kiss her. She started to feel wrong and freaked out, and then he proceeded to rape her. Then he took her to the old gas station, and she doesn't remember much else. But she stops the story and tells them that she sent him the coordinates of the sheriff's station and says, I'm not me. Preston and Albert shoot her as she draws her gun, and she zooms out of existence. Preston calls her a tulpa. Diane is in the lodge waiting room with Mike. She is manufactured. Her face breaks like porcelain. Her head turns into a black flame, and she is gone in a puff of smoke, but a gold marble remains. At the casino, Coop tells Naomi and Sonny Jim he has to go but will be back for good. Naomi asks if he is Dougie and begs him not to go. Sonny Jim freaks out. They have a kiss goodbye. In the limo, Coop lays out his story and tells the Mitchums that they have hearts of gold and shouldn't fear his FBI-ness. Bradley Cooper's character from Stars Born plays the double R. Audrey shows up with her husband looking for Billy. They are still written as a soap opera botanic monologue. Audrey's old Great Northern snappy tune plays as she takes the dance floor alone and does the alphabet dance in the spotlight while the audience sways. Two men begin to fight. She shifts into a white room looking into a mirror disheveled, and it's over.
I have to say, hearing just step by step exactly what happens to the Diane Tulpa, just in plain words, her head turns into smoke, she crumples up, floats away, seed comes out of her. It all makes so much more sense. So, if only I have to really digest Twin Peaks in those terms, and that, I get it now.
I'm really glad you hit on like the really hard hitting points. Sonny Jim going pee.
Yeah, do you have a timestamp on that we can just quickly share?
I just remember it was very important that he was like, I have to be. She's like, okay, I'll take you. And I just didn't want us to like pretend urination's not important.
Yeah, no, I mean it's your job to get us every single moment.
Yeah,
that's I appreciate.
There
it.
are beats I'm willing to miss, but not. Look, we only get so much Sonny Jim, okay?
It's true. He's going to be a strong boy soon after playing on that gym set.
Absolutely. Thank goodness. Even orphans need gym sets, so he better have one.
Yeah, let's talk about all this stuff. Let's just start where these episodes start with. We'll get some Twin Peaks drama out of our way. How about that, Nadine?
Shoveling herself out of the shit.
I love one of my favorite things I think about The Return is that 25 years later, Nadine is seemingly exactly the same. Like, not a single thing changed. And that actress is great. Like, that whole scene with her and Ed is just delightful.
I have been a bitch.
That's so good. One of my other favorite lines that she has is when Ed's like, oh, have you been listening to Jacoby's show again? And she's like, if you ask me, he's the only one telling it straight in this town. just such a, that's taken from a conversation you have with any, it's just such a great, like, little nugget for that character.
It was sad because we hadn't really been confirmed to this point. Him and Norma could have had a falling out, this or that. But
right.
Yeah, that, because at the end of Twin Peaks, it is not evident that he is, even when she comes back to herself, her age, that they're going to be together. So what a sad existence.
Yeah. It's a long 25 years.
Yeah.
It was almost a little, I mean, not that they could have done it any differently given the circumstances or anything, but like, it was gave me a moment to kind of lament that we had this really big moment for all three of those characters, and we didn't really get to see the build-up from where it was at the end of season 2.
Right. Yeah,
There's a lot of missing information there that would have been really fun and interesting to see that whole journey to get to that point, especially with how long it got dragged out. But yeah, that being said, I was still I loved how they handled it. It's weird. It feels like a very, very side thing to this season.
Yeah.
That's almost unnecessary besides some closure on some characters. But I mean, man, the things this season does well are just the weird shit. Like, okay, no, I gotta specify which weird shit. Like, not the Black Lodge weird. Well, they do that well too. But the just like the quirkiness. Since it's under the umbrella of David Lynch for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It all comes together and has a pure vision and feels 100% what it wants to be. Mm-hmm. And this finishing I believe the finishing, and there might be more to it for the next 2 episodes, but this is a really like prime example of how that all just comes together in his weird, fun way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when, like, talking about the humor of this season, like, it's not really apparent for a lot of this season. I feel like until after Part 8 does feel like this huge shift for this show where you kind of are on the downhill for some things, and I feel like a lot more of that humor gets put in, and especially in these 2 episodes. But yeah, I think that because it is all David Lynch, that the tone of that humor stays consistent, and I think it just works better and better. Like the longer the season goes on, the more stuff you see. It's so fun. I do want to like point out that I think you mentioned it in the recap that version of that Otis Redding song is the live version, which is such a great choice because like that song is prepping. He's talking to the audience as Ed is getting out of his truck to go into the double R, which feels like the perfect prelude for like his whole thing. And the way that song cuts in and out, where you're only hearing it when you're seeing Ed and he's sitting in like that meditative, just like at the bar, is so good. And also, I think one of the most Ed lines ever uttered is in this episode when he's just like, he orders, and then Shelley walks away. He's like, and a cyanide tablet. It's just like poor old Eeyore Ed. Like,
with his hipster ass haircut.
Yeah, seriously, he's fresh.
Hey,
he's got a good
Ed's
cut.
hot. All right.
He's doing well.
Tyler, the person I used to work with, Tyler, fun fact, the person that replaced you, so much like Ed.
Really?
He just deals with what life gives him, and he's never like over. He's just there.
But
he's a great human being, one of my favorite people.
yeah.
But he's just like that. He would do the same. He would stick with a woman for 25 years.
But is he a DILF like
What?
Ed? Is he a DILF?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and he has another kid
dilf?
coming next month, so he's gonna be a double dilf.
Is that how
Grilf?
that works?
Yeah, if you have 6 kids, you're a hex.
A dilf.
I think it's a sexadilf, which is
Sexadilf, yeah.
even more
You
powerful.
can be a septadilf and an octadilf. Back to Ed, and what is interesting about this is, one, her reaction to him initially is so, like, you don't see it in her face. It is almost too, like, you think she's going to reject him and doesn't bother with it. So it was a bit jarring, the swap. But just to say that it's interesting that we got their resolution, whereas we're not going to get a resolution to a lot of other season 2 things. Like, even if we get those characters in some way, we don't really know. Like, this is kind of shoring up what happened right after.
Yeah.
This is their El Camino, if you will.
I'm sure we'll talk
But
about
I'm
it
had we
later.
did.
It feels too perfect for me in a way. Like everything just works out.
25
Let us have
years.
one thing.
Freaking sucked.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and I think that we'll kind of talk about that as we get into some other stuff in these episodes, because I really do feel like if you were going to say that the soap opera stuff still exists in a big way in Twin Peaks season 3, I think these 2 episodes cram a lot of that in. Even just if you look at like all these specifically part 16 feels like this weird farce of like mistaken identity and like doubles, which is such a big soap opera thing. Like literally the evil twin shows up, that kind of stuff. It's so soap opera-y and weird. But yeah, I'm sure we'll kind of touch on that a little bit more. But yeah, so that's kind of an adorable resolution. Shelley looks on, hopefully, into her future at some point when she decides to not date assholes. And then we get to Shelley's, what would it be, asshole-in-law? I don't know. Her son-in-law. They're married, right? Yeah, they're married. Who gets discovered by Cyril Pons, Mark Frost's Twin Peaks character.
Yeah, I saw his name in the credits. I didn't know who he was.
That's him.
I don't know if you remember. So that character was in season one, I think, late in the season, but he's like a news anchor. He's just on TV. But yeah, his name's Cyril Pons, and that's Mark Frost's character in Twin Peaks.
That's cool.
But yeah, he comes upon Gersten and Steven out in the woods. And that scene is really
That scene is horrifying.
yeah, it's really, really terrible. I mean, Alicia Witt, who plays Gersten, that her performance through that whole thing is really, really raw in a way that's really uncomfortable.
Has she been acting all these years, or
I mean, I believe so. I don't know that she's been like doing a ton of stuff, but I think that she's got some credits for sure between original Twin Peaks and now. But yeah, that whole scene and it kind of ending with Cyril talking to Carl Rod. It's a weird scene. I don't know. I don't really know that I have a whole lot to say about it. But it's one of those really raw Twin Peaks scenes.
could you hear a lot of what he was saying during all that? I only heard the part about him talking about high school. That's pretty much all I could understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, so that we come into what feels like the middle of a much longer conversation, I think, because he says, like, I did it, which I don't know if we ever get any solid idea of what it is. But Gersten is saying, no, she did, So it feels like maybe he's feeling a lot of guilt for his relationship with Becky, possibly, and... but I'm not sure. I can't remember anything other, like, too specific. But yeah, obviously very high and in a very bad place. Yeah, rough scene.
Oof. You think by then he'd know what drugs to take? Like,
hey, maybe you got some bad stuff.
Maybe.
Man, this episode.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that was rough. Maybe I should try an
this
upper
one's
next
got
time.
3 skulls on it. I'm at a 2 skull maximum.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway,
You've been interrupted like 3 times, Marcus.
yeah,
What were
sorry,
you going
Marcus,
to say?
go ahead.
I'm gonna head out. I was just gonna say that this episode really showcases the duality that we've talked about multiple times with this show, where you will have the highest of highs, and it's Ed and Norma getting back together, and you got Otis Redding playing in the background, and it's such an uplifting scene, and then you cut immediately to, the dark road with the headlights and just evil Coop and the black, like the most evil of evil.
Yeah.
And the most awful things happening, like these 2 people tripping in the woods with a gun. Like, it was a roller coaster of emotions for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think maybe some of the only other Twin Peaks stuff that we have is we need to talk about the log lady. That scene always, I like weep when I watch that scene, and a lot of that is, we've talked about it before, like these scenes were filmed literally like days before Catherine Coulson passed away, and that moment when she says "I'm dying" is like such a, oh man, it gets me, like just thinking about it like really affects me. But that whole monologue is so beautiful, and it's such a great way for that character to go out too. Feels like it also, if we're just talking narratively, that feels like such a good indicator that things are coming to a head, that we're going to have a lot of collision, because it feels like her job is done there. And she does mention watch out for the one under the moon above Blue Pine Mountain, which I believe is referring to on I think it's in a couple places, but on Hawk's map, but also in the paper that they get from Briggs. There's the 2 peaks there, and there's, I think, a sun over one. I can't remember, but there's the other one has a moon over it, and the bug symbol is underneath the moon. So I think in that she's directly referring to whatever that is. Watch out for this one.
I found it interesting that she said that she's trying to remind him of things that she's told him before face to face, that she specifically says she can't say over the phone. And like the whole theme of like evil electricity and stuff is kind of like that's
Yeah.
what that's where my mind went when she said that. Like, there's this possibility of like the evil forces somehow, I don't know, being aware of what she and Hawk are talking about. Maybe that's going to affect the outcome of whatever it is that they're trying to prevent or get involved with, or whatever, however the climax is going to happen.
Right, and we have like back early on in this season, we do have that scene where Evil Coop comes in on Daria after she's been having that conversation. He's got her
that's
entire
right.
phone
Yep.
conversation recorded.
That's how technology works. I mean, someone could probably get on a payphone and type in a certain code
Right.
and listen to her.
It's called
conversation.
Freaking, and it was really cool back in the 90s. Yeah, well, and I think that also harkens back to the very first scene of this season with the giant talking to Cooper when he says, not all things can be said aloud now. It's in our house. You know, whatever that means, but that there are these things that are, incommunicable at this point. Crazy and great, and I miss the log lady. She's wonderful.
Also, just wanted to point out, it's not important at all. It just took me completely out of the scene. At the very end, we get a shot of what Sheriff Truman was looking at.
Oh my gosh!
What?
He was just. It looked like he was
It's
scrolling
just a
through.
JPEG image, like Google image search of a trout. Like,
Not even cropped, just on a white background.
the whole screen's black with a white square background in the middle with a trout on it.
Yeah.
That's the fish.
And then, like, this emotional scene, I just immediately started busting up laughing. I was like,
If you had to pick a moment that would define Frank Truman, I feel like that's it.
He was changing his desktop background. All right, it was a picture of a different
he
trout
couldn't figure out
before.
the center of the stretcher, the tiled format.
He realized since he had talked to Dr. Hayward that he hadn't changed his Skype profile pic in a long time. So he was just trying to find something that would
His
be good.
username of Sheriff Trouts.
But yeah, that's a great moment. I mean, Hawk comes in and kind of tells the rest of the sheriff department that Log Lady's passed away. Anything else in Twin Peaks?
I will
missed?
say on that just real quick.
Yeah.
The today was the wrong day to watch that Sesame Street Twin Peaks video because I was like, this log's like might have a mouth, and I was like, oh, this is an emotional moment. Stop it. Stop thinking of Twin Peaks.
The great mystery of Twin Peaks. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, that's what I was going through a bunch of. I have so many links that I saved and I never sent you guys. But there's the great SNL parody of Twin Peaks I need to send you guys, and yeah, that Twin Peaks one is just golden. I love it so much. Okay, so outside of Twin Peaks, let's go and talk about Doppelcoop or Mr. C or whatever the hell we're calling long-haired Cooper. Some wild shit happens with him, and we see the convenience store again, and he goes in there to meet with Philip Jeffries. What are you guys' impressions of that scene? I don't really know where to start. I just want to see what you guys think of that.
I am so lost on like the history of Philip Jeffries at this point.
Yeah.
I have no idea if he like. I honestly am so lost with his character. What do we know right now? Because I would not have expected to see his character in that area, in that sort of scene.
So, I mean, obviously, information about him is very sparse. So we know that him and Gordon Cole came through the FBI Academy together. They were the ones who worked the first Blue Rose case with
Right.
the woman whose name I can't remember that said I am like the Blue Rose. There were two of them or whatever. And then he disappeared at some point and then reappeared in the Philadelphia offices in Fire Walk with Me, and then disappeared again. That's it. That's what we know. I mean, there's some other stuff, and obviously, and apparently, he's in communication with a bunch of people.
And he does seem, in Fire Walk with Me, he does seem like he has changed. Like he's not fully the same as he was before, whatever that means.
Yeah. I think another piece that could be important to know, or is at least kind of good to know is in the secret history we talked about, it is him and Gordon Cole that know about listening post alpha. So they kind of know what Major Briggs is doing, and at least we're familiar with some of that. But yeah, other than that, Philip Jeffries, even everyone in the show seems to have a different idea of what side
Right.
Philip Jeffries is on, what he's trying to do. And no one seems to really know where he is, except for, Ray and now Coop, or Evil Coop, I mean.
What was the name of this place that we get from?
Ray?
Yeah.
Dutchman's. I think he calls it the Dutchman's.
The Dutchman's, okay.
Yeah.
And up until, this was the convenience store, wasn't it? That
Yeah.
he went into, and then he left and goes into this other place that is the
Yeah.
Dutchman's. Okay.
Yeah.
He goes up the stairs of the one-story building.
Yeah, and
There's
disappears.
No door.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's just
right,
a brick
yeah.
wall.
Just what a fucking cool
Are those
thing.
the stairs that we saw when they go to shit. It's where Scooby-Doo takes them. Nope. Mr. Hastings takes him and he looks
You're
into the
talking about
portal.
that
Cole
Cole
looks
saw,
into the
right?
portal. Yeah, and he sees 3 hobo zombies on a staircase. Is that the same staircase?
So I think that's actually because there's 2 sets of stairs that they go up, right? Am I?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
the
okay,
inside
okay.
stairs and stuff, and I think that the staircase that he sees is the one that's indoors.
Okay,
But yeah, this is where we
In
see
general,
that.
yeah.
I think this is one of my favorite sequences in this season. I don't know why. There's just so much about it that I really love. The idea of them going up that staircase into a hallway that is just shadow, that then has trees over,
Oh, yeah.
coming
Right.
in and out of it, and then they're in the parking lot of that motel. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the exact motel, but that motel always conjures images of Firewalk with Me. Specifically the scene where Leland sees Laura and then walks away, and then we see the kid jumping and stuff. Which it also is worth noting, this is the first time this season we've seen the jumping man, the white masked, red suited guy.
Pulls that switch just to...
Because
Is
electricity.
it like drugs to them, maybe? Like they
Yeah.
get some sort of energy rush off of it, so they got a light, that's his light.
That is, yeah, it could be. Electricity is similar to fire, we've learned, right? Anyways,
But yeah, I was stoked to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have doubts that we'll get to see any more, but yeah, that was cool.
yeah,
That whole sequence is awesome.
Yeah, they show every single step he takes
Yeah.
in that area.
it's really cool.
And then just the fact that you know that David Bowie, quote unquote, was just sitting in this giant tea kettle bong, just getting lit. It's like reminiscent of the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And he's like
When he's
blowing
like-
out smoke rings and shit.
Let me write it down for you.
Fucking Gandalf and that shit.
They have competitions for this now.
Yeah. Spitting mad.
That's what he's
Philip
practicing.
Jeffries.
This is why Philip Jeffries went into the Black Lodge, to gain the evil power to win the smoke ring blowing
You gotta
competition.
do that stuff in a room that doesn't have any airflow to really get the effect going. So
Yes,
that's why he's
absolutely.
inside of that thing.
The safest, the most effective place to smoke is a closed area, as tight as it can be.
How dare you interrupt me in my training?
Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so the...
Oh, but there's also some doubt from Evil Cooper that even is Philip Jeffries.
Right. Yeah. Well, because we also have... he talked on the phone with someone earlier in this season, also in that Daria scene, that I can't remember if they professed to be Philip Jeffries or he just assumed, and then by the end of the conversation, he's like, wait a minute, who the hell is this? You know, So there's a lot of mystery around
Which
that.
is weird, because if he was a doppel version of Philip Jeffries, it seems like he would know about it being from the same place.
Right. And also, I think it's interesting that I just lost my entire train of thought. I had something interesting.
I'm so sorry.
It was literally, I couldn't even finish 2 words and hold that thought in my mind. I've been smoking in too many enclosed areas.
But your ring game is perfect.
You could throw a quaffle through these rings. the nerdiest, dumbest ass.
Thank you for being the
Harry
first
Potter
person to make
fan
a Harry
fiction
Potter
we need.
reference, because I make at least 3 podcasts.
But yeah, that. I think the other thing that we definitely need to bring up is Judy is brought up again. Who have we heard a lot about Judy this
I don't
season?
think we
I'm trying to
know
think of other
anything.
moments.
I thought
yeah.
we would have known who she is by now.
Yeah. And the only piece of information we get is you've already met her. And Cooper, that is not satisfactory to Cooper or anyone really. And then he's teleported out of there and gets attacked by Audrey Horne's just cherubic angel of a son, Richard Horne.
Can we just start calling him Dick Horn?
Let's call him Dick Horne.
Yeah.
Dick Horn, yeah.
Dick Horne.
He kind of looks like. I mean, I know I mentioned the Bear Grylls thing. Another thing he looks like is I made a character in Dark Souls and I tried to make him look like a dolphin because I named him El Dolphin, and he looks a lot like that character. He's just all nose and forehead into like one pointy thing. Anyway,
Face to make any mother proud for sure.
Dolphin Dick Horn.
Dolphin Dick.
I want to talk about Mr. C's big dick energy for a second here, though.
Don't we
Glad you
all?
said it.
Finally. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for your bravery. Let's hear it.
I want someone to point a gun at me and me just be non-phased and be like, you're not going to shoot me and I'm going to beat your ass before you can.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah. That we just spits off
He
to the
just-
side. Just that split second is all that man
that,
needs to get in there.
I don't like to spit, like, in, I don't want to, like, it's like, I don't want to spit in public, but I would do the rest.
You'll kick a man in the ribs.
I will dick down dick.
The only
I will
spit I
not
want to see on the
spit.
ground is the spit of my enemies.
What's the
I have manners.
thing called? What he did? When you like distract not the Harlem Shuffle. What the hell's it called?
The
never
Harlem
thought that
Shake. I believe.
no.
Misdirection.
The sleight of hand. What is that called?
Distraction.
Kentucky? No, not Kentucky.
Bluegrass.
Oh, Kansas Shuffle.
Fried chicken.
Kansas Shuffle. Yep. No, is it
I don't
Kansas
know.
Shuffle?
No, I don't. Do you really think it's it? I don't know.
Holy shit!
I'm
what is it?
improvising here.
Okay, everyone continue the podcast. I'm going to Google search.
So he beats down Richard Dick, and then I don't have to say both, right? Okay. They go driving for a while. It's nice. It's nice to drive. I like the truck. And if they find this rock on a hill, what's interesting
From the coordinates, right?
from the coordinates,
Yes.
what's interesting is he says he's gotten the coordinates 3 times.
Yeah.
And he says 2 of them are the same.
So he's got them from Philip Jeffries' Teapot. What's Ray? Is that his
Ray,
name?
uh-huh.
And then Diane. Who was the other person?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure. Has she sent them before this?
No,
That's
well,
what
we
we're
don't
hearing.
see it
So-
until after
Okay.
this happens.
So, because that's always a point. So the text timeline between Diane and Doppelkoop is really weird because we see her get the Las Vegas message several episodes before he sends it.
Oh, that is so true.
Which
I
is
didn't
a
even
really
put that
interesting-
together.
Yeah. So that's why I asked because
Yeah.
I especially this time watching it, I was like, I'm gonna watch for that, and then I was like, I fucking kind of forgot, and I'm more confused than ever. So yeah, I'm trying to think of who the third person at that point would have been that gave him those
But I
coordinates.
mean, it could have been her, and we're just seeing it out of order.
Could be, I don't know, but it is. But she doesn't send them until after he sends the all message.
Oh, okay. You're right. That
So
makes
yeah,
more sense. Okay, nice.
We'll have to. I'll have to look that up, and if it's important, we'll bring it up next week for sure.
I believe they were a trap set up by the FBI. Fake coordinates with some sort of crazy ass fucking trap they
Yeah.
made where when you go to that place you just get electrocuted to death.
Yeah, into individual atoms that are then
Into
distributed
oblivion.
to some other planet or something. Yeah.
Used him like Voldemort used the house elf when he made the Horcrux in the lake.
Oh, great! I
just
cracked the door
sacrificial
open, and here
lamb.
comes
All right.
Mitchell.
Okay, we've got Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter.
Times 2.
What else do we hit?
We got the Harlem fucking Shake.
No,
Viral content is now.
I just
field here.
googled it. It's the Kansas City Shuffle. It's
Okay.
it's distracting someone. It's usually used in like a con, but it's usually like a person or a mark. But it can be like just a magic trick thing, like like okay, I'm using this hand over here, shuffling this, but really the trick's happening over here at the other end. Or what I like to call the Kylo Ren, where he pulls a Kansas City Shuffle in his head and
In his
kills
mind.
Oh,
Anyway,
beautiful.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So Star Wars is now in it. we got them all.
I will say the other thing about this scene, and this scene probably marries what we've talked about of just the ridiculous like horrors of Twin Peaks with the absolute pure humor of Twin Peaks in a way that I don't know if another scene has, with Jerry Horn watching this entire thing through the ass end of his binoculars.
Twice. After the first time seeing it, to realize something's wrong, and goes right back to it.
Here's all I'm saying. Steven should have taken whatever Jerry's taken. Pick your drugs. Okay. Wait,
Look, they're both dead, presumably.
Where
so
do you think he got the drugs? He wasn't ready for them. Separates the men from the boys.
You're right.
That's true. That's
You're
true.
right.
But yeah, Jerry, and then I mean, the last thing we see of Jerry is just him pounding those binoculars into the ground. That bad binoculars.
binoculars. Never show me that again.
Yeah.
Mr. C, as he go on.
So
You both just like were repelled from your microphones by some greater
how
force.
far did he run? Where the hell are they? How long has he been walking?
Who knows? That guy. Oh man, and the way he's been running, I can't imagine his hips are gonna be like happy with that. Because him just coming over that crest, his knees like, oh man, so good.
Anyway, Mr. C, you were
I
saying-
hope that Jerry Horn spent time as one of Snow White's 7 dwarfs. That's like the vibe I'm getting from him right now. And
Yeah.
that's it. Doesn't Mr. C say goodbye, my son?
He does.
Okay. I can see how that's not literal. At the same time, it seems like Audrey's cray. We'll get there. I wonder if Doppelkook, who raped Diane, may have also raped Audrey and produced this piece of shit. Because I'll tell you what,
shit.
that motherfucker didn't come from Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
You mean Billy Zane?
Oh, fuck! We're erasing. You got to erase all that. Let me try that one time. That dumbass kid did not come from Billy Zane. He was.
No, yeah,
There's a few things that I should have erased that I haven't. That one's not high on the priority list.
Yeah, no, I mean, we do know specifically that after the bank explosion, after Cooper had come out of the Black Lodge, he did go and visit Audrey Horn in intensive care.
Oh.
Oh shit.
Do you think he's,
Oh man.
Yeah.
do you think he's just trying to like build an army?
That could be.
But then,
I don't know.
then he just kills off his
Yeah.
hard work right there.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
like,
Well, you know, fuck them.
all right, let's move on.
I mean, fair. We were all thinking it.
Yeah, no one was sad.
Maybe it's his one ploy. He's like, I'm gonna get a little sympathy by creating a monster, but then totally fucking destroying him. You're welcome.
Unless he's become one with the electricity and is now officially a Black Lodge
He's
demon.
Obi-Wan'd himself into the. he's
yeah.
become one with the
Can
Force.
draw from his power.
Oh, watch out, kids. Yeah.
When he
so
said goodbye, my son, he meant see you later.
that's it. That's it.
I say that to everyone all the time just to see if someone will be like, "You're my dad," and that's just how I'm going to look for adoption.
So that's it with Mr. C, though, right? You don't
think
see
so.
Mr. C again.
Yeah.
He texts Diane, which
He puts all in a smiley face, right?
yeah. Fuck it. Let's talk about
Emoticon
let's talk about the
all.
FBI and Diane's thing. We already covered it a little bit. She seems to remember, like, this flood of memories comes back to her, and walks up to the FBI's hotel room with that awesome American Woman remix that David Lynch did, which is
That
so
and
good.
the Otis Redding, like, two really stand out. Like, we're going to completely change up the
Yeah.
sound moments.
Well, and this comes directly after we get the Twin Peaks theme song playing in the middle of the episode, which then abruptly cuts as she realizes as that switch
Right,
is
yeah.
flipped in her brain, which is amazing. So she goes up and talks to Gordon Cole and Albert and Tammy and recounts the last time that she saw Cooper, and seems to remember information as she's telling it. At least is what I get from that performance, which I think is really great. That's another one of those scenes that is like, it's very slow at the top, and then as information starts to unravel, you almost know what's coming which makes it worse when it does. I don't know. It's such a great
There
scene.
was such a gimmick with we know that the guns. He shows the gun. She pulls out the cigarettes to like show us off, and we're genuinely curious. Like, has she come to a realization now? Because she had already implied that he raped her earlier in the season, so it's not
Yeah, we
like
talked about
she
that, right?
didn't know the negative. And she's texting with him, which makes us think she's evil. So it's like, has she come to a realization of good? But the way that she was acting and the tension was still so varied. And I was like, these 3 FBI agents must have guns on them. Like, they must at all times, but are they going to be ready? And just man, they wanted to kill her. Because now they were like, but yeah, it was kind of a cheap tension build, but I was fully invested.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, and obviously, I think the part, especially that she starts to remember, is her going to the gas station that she calls it, and then her. I'm trying to remember exactly what she says after that. Does she say I'm in the sheriff's station, or I'm in the?
Yeah.
She says that twice, and then says I'm not me, and then
Yeah.
pulls the gun out, which is so good. And then just video effects into the air, which is just wonderful. But yeah, her death is great. That Black Lodge stuff is just delightful.
I get another face peel, but it's different from what's her name, who we did not see, Sarah Palmer, not in these episodes, even though she might have some of the most compelling, freaky stuff going on. I will say, I'm curious how this manufactured person thing works, because we know Dougie was manufactured, right? And we know that there are, in essence, 3 people at once occupying in some space a doppelganger of Cooper. Mr. C, who has to be Bob, but seems to be his own entity, and then we don't know if there are 2 of Diane.
Yeah. So I don't think Mr. C is Bob. Bob is with Mr. C.
Okay.
But Mr. C is very much his own entity, because he is
Of the same being
Cooper's
as Bob.
doppelganger.
Okay.
And Bob is separate from them. Because I think the idea that they put forward at the beginning of this season 2 is that because the doppelganger came out of the Black Lodge, only one of them is supposed to be able to be out at the same time, right? So that to me says that the doppelganger and Cooper are 2 separate entities.
So it's like Bob and this is sharing this entity with he switched from original Cooper, who he did take over, how he took over Mr. Palmer. Like he shoves his head into the mirror and he looks in the mirror and it's Bob.
But that's the doppelganger at that point.
So the doppelganger is the one who comes out at the end of season 2.
Yeah, because we have that last shot. So there's that moment when Cooper is running from his doppelganger, and then the doppelganger catches him and grabs him,
right? And
it cuts to black. And then everything we see after that is the doppelganger.
So Bob is with Cooper, much like he was with Leland, except it would seem that he doesn't need to ever take control of him because they have the same goals.
Okay. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, but yeah,
then they manufacture a third, which is
Tulpa
Dougie.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
The Tulpa. So wait, is a Tulpa what we're calling a manufactured being from the lodges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Tulpas are an actual thing of
right.
mysticism, like all that. And this is obviously a little bit different definition-wise. But yeah. So, anyways, all that stuff is great. I don't know if we have anything else about like that portion of the FBI, because we'll talk about Vegas FBI in a minute. Just the real cut-ups of the FBI, I think. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else.
I just want if David, if you're listening and you're planning on more, call me. I think I can do your special effects. I think I know how to do all those things in After Effects. I am cheap, probably cheaper than the guys you got. Call me.
Well, that's the most interesting thing to me about this season is they are so out of place, the special effects, that it has to be intentional.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think I've even talked about this before. Like for me, I still don't understand why exactly they're done the way they are.
Yeah.
But
I think with Mitchell, and last time we talked about it, it's just that it's not high on his priority list.
Yeah.
And it also kind of achieves a weird flavor at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and there's other effects that look pretty good, like Richard Horn getting electrocuted into like that.
Right.
You know, that looks pretty cool. That looks very different. But yeah, the Black Lodge stuff is so distinctive, and I think specifically that stuff is so close to Lynch's own leanings as far as his art that he does, like his paintings and stuff like that. There's like a shared aesthetic between those things, and so it feels very specific to that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that even the people making the effects are like, we don't know why. He just gave us these incredibly specific notes. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things.
Especially the stuff with Diane, though. It's like I can almost see like when you hit the transform tool in Photoshop and it has the dotted square around it. I can almost see that as they're like adjusting it to stretch her bottom out. Like interesting shit. But yeah, so let's talk about let's go to Vegas, which is where the bulk of action takes place over these episodes. I think we'll talk about Audrey at the end. I think we'll kind of save that for that moment. But yeah, so where do you guys want to start in Vegas?
It's stakeout.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Stakeouts.
The Tarantino climactic
stakeout
scene.
standoff, as we call it. Man, yeah, that stuff's great.
Well, first of all, so let's start with Chantal and Butch because they're the first to stake out. They come in and she shoots the guy who we've just been seeing in this really nice office, Mr. Todd, right?
Yeah.
And Roger, who we've seen bring him a couple things, and she just kills them. She seems to be like a decent assassin for someone who just looks trashy. And she just walks out super casual, and then they head down the road to Dougie's, and no one's there, and so they're like, we'll just wait. And she's on her last bag of chips.
Very important.
Which is... You got to be careful when Hanger is real.
I think I love these characters because they feel like such fucking Tarantino characters. Like their
This whole
conversations.
scene to me feels like a Tarantino
Yeah,
scene.
for sure. I had to restrain myself when Hutch is just getting filled with bullets to be like, he's fucking dying here. It took everything within me not to say that. But like that whole conversation they have before any of that happens, when he's just like, oh, you know that guy? Yeah, he died. I owed him money. She's like, do you feel bad about that? He's like, yeah. And that's it. That's the entire scene. Like it's fun. I like it. But yeah, then the FBI shows up. Poor Wilson. Really should have taken the extra linguistics classes and gone to the CIA. He should not have to put up with this shit in Vegas of all places. But yeah, they're staking out, which that visual of them pulling up and just two vans that are facing each other. So good. And then the Mitchums show up bearing gifts as they do to bring stuff in, and then we have an accountant who has branded his car with his company name. Not. I've never seen the accountant.
He probably like works out of like a strip mall.
That's
like
true.
Right next to the Spirit Halloween location that's empty most of the
Those
year.
guys are always carrying Uzis.
His payroll is literally just like strippers. He's like dealing primarily in cash.
I was gonna say Slavic
like,
ones
how
too,
can
right?
yeah, probably. Yeah, that's true. That is a niche that needs to be filled in Vegas for sure.
Were they blocking his driveway though?
That's a good question. I don't know that we're given a clear answer.
I don't think they were.
Which is the beauty of Twin Peaks.
I feel like they
Stuff's
can't
left,
park.
Like
Butch could have
questioning.
just been like, "I'm in front of your lawn. Like I'm just staking out so I can kill someone. Like calm down."
Yeah. I mean, I've never felt the pure anger inside me that would prompt me to just floor it into the front of a much larger car than me.
When he said, "I'm going to move your car," I thought he was going to Nadine push this car.
Yeah.
I thought he was just going to call like a towing company. Like I'm going to get your car moved.
Did anyone
You're
think he
watching
was
the
going to
wrong
pull
show.
his hand out of his pocket and reveal that he was wearing
I
the other
literally
green
thought
glove?
he was going to pick it up and just lift it up and push it.
That's
The
the
other-
beauty
the
of
other
Twin
green
Peaks.
Would
glove.
not have surprised me.
That is the beauty of Twin Peaks, because I think any of those things could have happened.
Sure.
I mean, Deus Ex Accountant wasn't high on my list, but
Should have been. But yeah, that gunfight plays out pretty incredibly. And probably one of my favorite lines in The Return is when the Mitchums come out on their porch. And he's like, the fuck kind of neighborhood is this? People are under a lot of stress, Bradley. Like, to me, there are so many scenes in this season in particular that can be applied to. I think about the stuff with Steven and all the bad shit going on in Twin Peaks. People are just under a lot of stress. Like, that feels so, I don't know. It's such a great moment. It's really good.
I love how there's clearly a shot. It's fired. She shoots first. She's the Guido here. She shoots first, and the FBI agents don't do anything. And then my guy does not just pull out like a gun. He's got like a machine gun with many rounds.
Look, you just got to let it play out.
And just the way they get torn apart. Seriously, Tarantino-esque. Something we have not really seen.
I don't know what
it
the
is so
hell is his name. Butch? Is that his name?
Hutch. Yeah, Hutch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hutch.
What the hell? He pulls out a shotgun, shoots where the guy was. He shoots at the driver's seat when he's behind the fucking car. I'm like, man, you guys are professional assassins.
They just weren't ready. He wasn't on their list. The name has to be on the list for us to kill him. Which feels like a very Lynchy way to do assassins. Their name's not in the book. We can't do any harm to them. In fact, we have to help them.
Dude, if David Lynch was an assassin, we would all be dead. It's like, that guy was killable.
We're lucky he found meditation because, that stuff is really fun. And all of this is, of course, going down while Douglas Jones is in a coma due to electricity. Which is just reiterated 6 or 7 times. Which
You think
is
it was
delightful.
the electricity?
Electricity.
I thought it was the cake was just that good.
But yeah, we have. Let's talk about that scene where he does crawl over to the electrical outlet.
He hears Gordon Cole. That's like the trigger.
Yeah, pulls up Sunset Boulevard playing on TV.
Which is where the name came from, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that scene. It's funny because I think there's so many really odd parallels in that scene. Gordon Cole is not a big character in Sunset Boulevard. He is literally on screen for maybe 30 seconds. He is called on the phone by the man that we see in that clip, and his name is only said twice, probably in that entire movie. But I think it's interesting in this scene. There's a line that the I can't remember the name of the character in Sunset Boulevard, but the woman says, "We're getting the old team back together," which is what's happening. And then Gordon Cole is mentioned, which snaps Dougie into coop mode a little bit, and gets him to electrocute himself into a coma. There's a lot of scenes I think in these episodes that are these really tense. They've got these really tense builds, and one of them is him trying to stick the tines of the fork into the outlet, which you're like, oh, thank God it doesn't work. And then he's like, oh boy, here's the other end of the fork, like into the outlet, and great. We get some great just electricity, just strobing stuff over Naomi Watts screaming, and then he's in a coma. I think some really great scenes. I think that one of the real highlights of the back half of this season are the episodes where you're just getting all these characters that you have seen separately into a room, and having Janie E. Mullins, the Mitchums and their entourage, Candy, Sandy, and Mandy, all just in that hotel room is really delightful.
And it's the fact that everyone loves Ducky despite the fact that he's fairly uncommunicative. It's just it's like, oh, this is how far we've come.
Yeah, it's so good. Is there? I don't know if there's anything pre-wake up that you guys want to talk about.
No, I'll bring it up later.
Okay,
It's not related.
yeah. I think that stuff is really fun. And then kind of everyone leaves that room for various reasons. Sonny
Jim had to pee.
Sonny Jim had to pee. She gets Janie out of there. The Mitchums are stocking their pantry full of probably just finger sandwiches. I'm not sure what else Candy was able to whip up in the limo on the
Have
way
you
over.
ever said no to a finger sandwich?
Just, oh man, every time Candy delivers a line, I am just delighted. The deliberate way that she leans down with that tray full of, and it's just like, these are called finger sandwiches. Just the purest joy to share that information with anyone who's listening is so good. But yeah, I think the most notable exit is Mullins when he hears a ringing or something that pulls him out of that room, not dissimilar to the ringing that we've heard at the Great Northern, with Ben Horn, and also James has heard that. And then Mike appears. I mean, does he wake up and then Mike appears? I'm trying to remember the order.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he wakes up just with all the swagger that we've missed from.
What a freaking job by
Agent
him! You
Cooper.
just feel it instantly.
Yeah.
Oh, what a joyful moment!
The delivery of all those lines is so great. But yeah, so he has that conversation with Mike. He kind of finds out the state of things. He knows that Mr. C is not back in the lodge, gets the ring from Mike, and then gives him a little bit of his hair to make presumably a new Dougie from the seed that was left behind by him. And then Mullins comes in, and I think the first line that feels so Dale Cooper is just, "Could you pass me those sandwiches? I'm starving." I don't know what it is about that line, but it just feels like, here he is. Here's our Boy Scout Cooper.
He's back.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm gonna need the snub nose revolver you keep in your right shoulder. Okay.
Okay, Dougie. That's the power that Dougie is able to wield. Like, now that he has the power of speech, there's literally nothing he couldn't do. Like, people will do anything for him. Which the Mitchums also do. That conversation is great. Just the gas up the jet. We're going to get the jet ready. We're going to Spokane.
You got it, boss. Whatever you need, Dougie.
Yeah.
So delightful.
But yeah, he also gives Mullins a message for Gordon Cole in case he calls. And probably the greatest moment in this entire show is as he's leaving, and he says, "But Dougie, what about the FBI?" And he just turns around, says, "I am the FBI," and the Twin Peaks theme starts to play.
Oh yeah.
Gosh. Oh, it's so good. Like, it really does. There's something about that moment that feels like coming home to me. Like, it just, everything feels right for a minute. You know, it's so
an
good.
incredible payoff of everything.
Yeah. It's been 16 hours almost to get to that, which is crazy.
But I mean, we appreciate it because we spent 20 some hours just relishing in the character who is Cooper, who we lose. Oh, it's a beautiful arc. We could have ended right there. Oh, that would be fun. I don't have any more questions.
It's just a screen that comes up and says the end.
I mean, they really
Happy.
Tolkiened it and wrapped everything up. Almost overkill.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 episodes ago, like, do we really need more?
Is there more?
I actually watched Return of the King Extended Edition last night. We got home, me and a couple buddies, and they were like, "Let's start this." And I was like, "You guys know." So at 2:30 a.m.
This is essentially a mini series.
I told my buddy, I was like, there's like 6 endings on that movie. And he's like, what? So we counted them as they go through. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So there's one down for Twin Peaks. Well, actually 2, because, I mean, we got the end of season 2, really.
True.
We could have ended there.
So, yeah, then we have basically just him leaving Vegas, which I think is great. That the moment with Janie E and Sonny Jim is another one of those weird scenes. Like, I think it feels, again, a very soap opera feeling moment. It feels very kind of melodramatic and a little goofy. Like, I feel like Janie E, especially in that scene, even her reactions, like, just the idea, she's like, whoever you are. Like, she kisses him and says, whoever you are, thank you. Which is not a natural reaction to have in that situation when the man who you have been
banging,
thinking is your husband over the last
making cakes for
couple
and
weeks.
banging.
Yeah. Making cakes for and banging.
Two of the most sacred, intimate acts.
The most committed form of relationship in the
That's
world.
marriage. You never get divorced as long as you're making cake and banging.
True. That I can. Yep, that's true.
Neither of my wives bake cake. I'm never marrying a gluten intolerant girl again. I'm not shaming you. I just want a successful marriage.
She's a regular listener.
It's time for me.
Both of my ex-wives are a huge percentage of our listenership.
We're just injecting this into the canon this late in the game that you have two ex-wives. Oh my
It's not something I just bring up willy-nilly. I worked with you for like a year before you told me you had 3 ex-wives.
I like that we're keeping the reality that I do have one more ex-wife than you. Okay. What the fuck is going on? Can't breathe. Is also what I think when I watch these scenes in Twin Peaks. But yeah, so he has another scene with the Mitchums, and then he is presumably off to Twin Peaks. That's the last we see of him. Is in the limo where he tells the Mitchums they have hearts of gold.
They really do.
They really do.
I'm trying to remember how they were at the beginning, because, I mean, he was winning a lot. Like, they were willing to kill someone, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But also, like, they were just kind of pissed he kept winning.
Yeah,
And it kinda screwed them over.
they fire the casino boss. They beat the shit out of the
Yeah.
casino boss in there, and
So maybe hearts of, like, so, like, they're turning. They went from, like, bronze to silver. Now to gold.
yeah, they're grinching.
Yeah.
They're just
We
grinching.
grinch.
away.
We haven't
Grinching
actually
it.
seen them personally do anything horrible.
True. Well,
They might have been slave triplets. I don't know.
They were orphans.
Prediction.
Oh, do you think that they had a gym set? Go ahead.
This is getting into something we'll talk about later.
Okay.
These 3 women are brainwashed. They keep them in a facility and brainwash them.
Uh-huh.
Who else do we know that seems to be being kept somewhere, possibly brainwashed, who we'll eventually see in a pink dress? Just saying. With the stress the amount of the population of Las Vegas is under, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose one of the 3 girls in a firefight. Or held for ransom. They need replacements. They have a farm, and there
She's
it is.
next.
Yep.
She's-
Audrey
yeah.
Horn is the next pink.
Yeah. So
Cocktail waitress.
let's talk about Audrey Horn. Let's talk about this Roadhouse
Oh,
scene.
really quick, since Roadhouse thing.
Yes.
The ending of the 15,
Right.
episode 15.
Yes.
There's a girl sitting at the usual booth, it seems, and she gets kicked out of her booth by these 2 burly men. Everyone at the Roadhouse is a fucking asshole, apparently. And this girl's just crawling on all 4s, eventually screams, no one gives a shit. She says she's waiting for someone. I don't know if we're going to get any satisfactory things with all these little scenes we've had there. This one seemed the most important to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the more bizarre moments in the Roadhouse, which is funny because we're about to talk about probably the only scene that's more bizarre in the Roadhouse than that one. But yeah, it does feel important because of that. I agree.
I feel like the Roadhouse sequences are like the Pixar shorts before the Pixar movie.
But it's just like if you're watching Coco and all of a sudden it's just this guy and all of his organs have smiley faces for 10 minutes and then he's gone.
David Lynch is like, this is what I feel happens at the Roadhouse. I'm going to throw this in for a minute.
This is my space. That's what he thinks about the Roadhouse.
I want concerts and I want some awkward interactions at this booth.
Yeah. And boy, does he get him.
We also skipped just real quick. Did we talk about the prison?
No, we
no.
didn't.
We still have the crazy-eyed lady chirping Chad.
Yeah, we didn't talk
Is
about
that his name?
James.
Yeah.
He just seemed like a
Oh, yeah, we should talk
it's a
about
good
James,
douchebag.
I guess I totally
He's just sitting in there, and then James and Super Punch
Yeah.
are also sitting in there.
Yeah.
Super Punch UK. Yeah.
Who does? That's in these episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is him fucking up some guys?
It was 15, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One punch to each face, and they're messed up.
James has a very inappropriate relationship with this man's wife.
She was ogling him during his whole beautiful song.
She was like getting really flustered. Like, I've never made my wife feel like that.
We need to get you a copy of Cosmo.
Look, all I'm saying is I get a lot of cake, okay?
Okay,
Jeez.
I'm stopping. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't go where I thought I was going. But anyway, yeah. What the hell's going on between them? It's really weird. And then man's clearly never had like an affair before because he's going about it the wrong way by just
Well, it just seems like he's like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
And then
walking.
he's like,
What? Did you just talk to my fucking wife, you piece of shit? I mean, that's glazing it over. He, from very far away, just kind of yells, "It's nice to see you in the back of that booth."
Yeah, it's
As in,
weird.
"Well,
like-
he's just awkward. He's a really awkward guy."
I mean,
He
yeah.
hasn't been the same since the accident.
Oh, you mean dating Donna?
I forgot about
Okay,
that.
there have been 2 accidents.
But he's always been cool. So
James is still so groovy.
So cool.
But yeah. So then, but then the guy clearly, I mean, gets mad at him,
Yeah.
which he should, and then he just gets the living shit kicked out of him by the Super Punch UK,
Yeah.
and
I'm writing that
Yeah.
comic.
There's 6 mangas that are already that.
Okay, if you were in a booth sitting with your wife at the Denny's, and the local musician who plays the Denny's, because he's local, just shouted at her from across the room, would you feel the need to punch him in the face?
yeah, I would. Okay, well,
That's why I'm twice divorced. I wasn't jealous enough.
Mitchell wouldn't do that. He would just do it to a complete. He'd just beat down a complete stranger.
I don't like musicians.
No
so.
spitting.
well, I think
I
it
just
depends.
think, oh, are you guys old friends? And she'd be like, well, I was ogling him the other day, and then I'd punch him in the dick.
See, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of like what ifs. Like if I had been known about that whole situation, then
yeah,
I would have had a conversation. First, I would now have an ex-wife, but if I didn't know about that and some guy did it that way, I'd be like on edge. I'd be like, huh, this is weird. Story time. In high school, me and a group of friends, including the girl I was dating, went to a pool at a hot tub. We were in the hot tub, and there's always, I don't know what it's like everywhere else in the States for all you listeners out there. In Utah, when you go to the hot tub at a college apartment complex, there's always the one foreign student by himself in the hot tub. It's always a dude. He's always by himself, and he hits on every single female in the hot tub. And that's what he's there for. Anyway, so this happens. This particular gentleman was from Russia, I believe. And he was drinking some, not orange juice, it was clementine juice in a box. It was a juice box.
That's sexy.
Also, in case we have to reiterate this, we were in Utah. Go ahead.
We don't have clementine juice.
juice books.
Anyway, I have my arm around this girl I'm dating, and he just starts chatting her up, like totally flirting with her, pretending I'm not there. And, you know, honestly, at the time, I was like, well, let's see where this goes. I was like,
You didn't look that invested in her, so I was investing in her.
I was like, let's see how much brand loyalty I have.
how much time did she give him?
So here's the thing. This girl I was dating at the time, boy, we're going to get a lot of history here.
We're gonna get back to Twin Peaks soon, I swear. Let's. Yep.
It's all applicable. I didn't have a green gloved friend to help me out here. Anyway, I was like, well, let's see what happens. As sort of like she's a very flirtatious person.
Oh, sounds like whore.
Sounds like horror. Wow.
That's
Where-
how the Russian. That's
where-
for the Russian guy.
Where
Anyway,
am I
what
right
I'm
now?
saying is,
Am I awake? Or
Well, you're in lodge. Shut up.
simulation.
Mitchell did just compare the Roadhouse to a Denny's, so I don't
anyway,
know.
what I'm trying
I mean,
to
I
say
don't know
is,
what Denny's are like in other places, but in Utah, there's a bar,
Open
and there's
mic.
music every night. And
violence.
yeah, and once a month, it's Eddie Vedder.
what I'm saying is, I didn't have the reaction that this woman's husband had, and maybe I should have.
Well, I mean,
Did
to
you
be fair,
question-
he's in the ICU, so I think it's probably better that you didn't.
But maybe it's
Maybe
good that I
this
didn't.
was Super Punch USSR. Okay, wait. I just have to know. Like after that, were you like, wow, she was really giving that dude time of day right in front of me, and that's not cool.
Well, we're not together anymore. Spoiler alert.
Does she live in
I was
Moscow
hoping
now?
the big reveal would be that it's your wife.
That it was
Right.
Katie. No, yeah. It was the beginning of the end.
Whoa. We're gonna do a podcast just
be
on your
continued.
relationships. Okay.
So, anyways, they are thrown in jail, as you probably should be when you mess up a man like that. And yeah, what else? I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about that happens there? I do think this was something I noticed this time that I think it was spurred because I knew that we were going to see that we'd seen the jumping man again. Was the sound of the man imitating the no-eyed woman kind of sounded, it's almost like monkey-ish to me. I don't know. I was like trying to draw connections to like the Black Lodge stuff we'd seen in Firewalk with Me, which I haven't seen any monkeys this season, but it was like one of those things. It's like, it's such a weird thing. I really don't know how to read that man, that open sword copycat.
Are they gonna get him any medical attention at any point?
Here's
Just-
the other thing. I've been trying to see, do the sheriffs even acknowledge him? Like, I feel like the only people who acknowledge him are people who are in the cells. Like, Chad does. But every time that, like, Andy is down there or Hawk is down there, there's not, like, any interaction between them, which is weird.
I don't
Very
think
weird, yeah.
James interacted or mentioned him either.
That
he, like
might be true, because he reacts to
Chad, I think, and to the no eyes lady.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Does
that's
Super Punch react to him?
I don't know.
I thought he said something like, I don't remember.
He might. Yeah, we'd have to go back and check on that. But yeah, it is an interesting, what weird shit is going on there. Yeah, so let's talk about Audrey Horne. How you guys feeling? That's the end of that episode. Is
I
Audrey
like the
Horne.
music cue coming back. We kind of get this music cue that we've heard with Audrey and in the Great Northern when kind of something like it's just this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a level of kitsch and cheese.
Yeah, I think so. There are a couple things about this scene that I want to know. Is Eddie Vedder is announced as Edward Louis Severson, which is his actual given name. But then in the credits, he's credited as Eddie Vedder playing Edward Louis Severson, which is
That's funny.
could just be a weird, cool, dumbass thing. And then after that, our Roadhouse MC comes out and says, we now present Audrey's Dance, which is the name of that piece of music from, the original series of Twin Peaks, which again feels like one of those meta things of like
Right.
pulling from outside of Twin Peaks and making it a part of that. And that scene, what begins is like, oh, I think we're going to see Audrey Horne in what feels like a real place, then is maybe not at all.
Oh,
Just
for sure. As
fucking
soon as she
weird.
started dancing, I was like, okay, because they had debated going and not going, and the way they communicate is so weird. It's just this off world, and then we get her long dance, and the audience is swaying. So at this point, I'm
And they've
definitely
all moved off to the
Yeah.
side.
The
and
way
it's
they
weird.
move too, I can't put my finger on it, is really bizarre. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
a camera technique or an effect they put on them or something. It feels like they're floating almost.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But at the end, we get a quick. She says something, right?
She runs over to...
Yeah. Well, because that man comes flying out of the other side of the room.
right.
He's like,
So-
that's my wife, asshole, or whatever, and
Yeah.
punches that guy, or hits him with a bottle. And then, she runs over to Charlie and says, get me out of here, get me out of here.
And then we see her hair. It looks like it's more pulled back, and she's in a very glowy white room. But she's looking at like one of those face mirrors that they have in hotels, where you get to look close to your face and see how bad your pores really are. And she just kind of freaks out.
That's what she's freaking out about. Is
Yeah.
Her pores? Yeah, I thought.
Well,
so.
and her eyebrows feel like really, I don't know, like everything about her appearance feels so...
Feels different.
off.
less
Yeah.
grandmothery.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like the obvious answer here is, oh, she's just been in a psych ward. But then, why? Who's the baby daddy? Like, why is she? Why does her story even matter at this point? I mean, obviously, with Cooper heading back, that is still someone that stands out. It's just hard, this being such a fan favorite character, and because there's enough moments that are like David Lynch clearly did this and he knew the reaction he'd get and he was willing to go back to that, but then the story isn't really so Twin Peaksy that he didn't feel the need to cater this. So I wonder if she plays a big role, but I still would have liked to see her personality more in this season. I think what she added to the original Twin Peaks is something that would have been valuable to the return.
Yeah. And I think we talked about it briefly, is this wasn't the original stuff that was written for her.
Right. That's true. Okay.
And so yeah, but it's so fat. I think it's one of the more interesting aspects of the return is this stuff, because it
and it's only been 3 episodes so far that she's really been in.
I think it's a little
maybe 4.
It's like
I think maybe it's
we've had a
4.
few.
Yeah, this might be the 4th. I think I don't know, something like that.
Which is wild because she has like one scene in each episode, but each scene feels like it could play sequentially.
Yes, for sure.
Like within the same night.
Yeah.
I was
It's almost
wondering
like
that-
Divorce from Time in a way or something.
I think she's in simulation, computer simulation, something like that.
When
along
we
those lines.
What are
talked
you
earlier
thinking, like
about
Apple II, IBM.
when we talked about the timelines with the text maybe being up, I was thinking like Audrey is going, maybe we're going to find out something she did and something else that's happened or in a certain time, and that's going to matter at some point. Like we're seeing her over one night, and it did come to me that it literally sounds like they've taken bad dialogue from something and run it through a Botnik simulator, and that is just, this is what you say during this argument. I will also say the place where her and her husband were before, it felt very claustrophobic. Like I didn't almost believe that there was a door behind them as they were like putting their jackets on until they're really like in this entryway, and then we just see them in the double R. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on or why it matters, but it's crazy.
Something I noticed is it cuts to her in that white space, and then it goes to black, then it goes to the credits, and the band's playing, but they're playing in reverse,
Right.
which is
good.
very reminiscent of the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
So maybe she's in one of the 2 lodges or some in-between place, or something like that.
I think wherever she is and whatever like she's doing is connected with the sound that Ben Horn is hearing at the Great Northern.
Oh, he's got her in the basement.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe the Great Northern is like struggling because he's turned half into a psych ward. I don't know.
We know that's a lot of resources.
The classic trope of just turning half of something into a psych ward and horror ensues.
It's perfectly safe to stay here. We just needed some of the space. We didn't need this many rooms anymore. Tourism has died down. Okay, we got to make money some other way. I also want to.
Is that Ben Horn?
No, that was just me. That was just me being not me.
Okay, just was checking.
No, I don't have a Ben Horn.
Just a man seizing an opportunity.
Business
His
Mitchell.
business partner.
Business Mitch.
That's literally how I talk on the phone at work.
Biz Mitch.
What's up, Biz Mitches? That's what I call my team. I do wonder if Diane has a doppelganger, if the real Diane is in the lodge.
Yeah.
Because-
we know that's not her.
Yeah, we know that, though Diane we've been seeing, well, it obviously has some knowledge and understanding of her, wasn't her. And, I just want more of that character, and I want more of that understood with Coop. But I think that's...
Yeah.
I don't know how I got Val Kilmer and Billy Zane mixed up. I'm pretty mad
It
about
happens
that.
to everyone. It happens to everyone. That's
Common
why, honestly, that's
misconception.
why I first watched Batman Forever, is because I was like, I cannot wait to see Billy Zane don the cape. I was so fucking disappointed. Yeah, so that's those 2 episodes and a whole lot more. There was a lot more that we talked about.
Made a lot of new
was-
friends tonight.
90% my fault. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so we're finishing next week. We're gonna watch the last 2 episodes of Twin Peaks.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. I'm not prepared. I'm going to spend all week preparing for this. But yeah, so parts 17, 18. And we'll go ahead and, after a brief musical break, we'll do some recommendations of some other Twin Peaks stuff. And if you want to reach out to us, I better do this. Email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com, or reach out to us on Twitter and at rewatcherspod. And enjoy this music. See you on the other side. Welcome back to the recommendation section of the podcast where we talk about stuff that we're watching that isn't Twin Peaks, just to keep us sane in between these joyful watching sessions. Justin, you've been watching some stuff this week. What did you have to recommend for us?
All right, so a few nights ago, I finally psyched myself out enough to watch Hereditary. So
Hey.
I sat down to watch that, and then I had to watch something else after watching that.
So you
before I
watched
could go to
Midsommar,
sleep.
right?
No, I ended up watching El Camino afterwards.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Something nice and lighthearted.
Right. So, Hereditary. It's been on my watch list for quite a while. And I definitely recommend it. I have been freaked out since watching it every single night or anytime I'm alone. Like that feeling you get when you're walking up the stairs, you turn the lights off. Like that has been quadrupled in my heart
Yes.
since
You
watching
look up
this
into
movie.
the corners of rooms.
horrifying.
Yes.
Oh, God.
absolutely.
Oh, stop.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do this.
I said an incredible reaction.
Mitchell's
to
headphones
that.
just came flying off his head. No one moved.
Did anyone else hear the name Pazuzu 6 times?
Why do we do this in a fucking basement?
Yeah, so
Anyways.
that's been my life since watching that movie. The third act of that movie is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's like when things get turned all the way up towards the end for the resolution and everything. Like it's just fucking insane.
Yeah.
And oh man, it was so great. And like I like being scared. It's something that like I know a lot of people don't find it very enjoyable, but like. This was a different kind of getting scared. Like it's not just something that was like, oh, that was fun. Like this has really messed me up since then, and I'm gonna be thinking about this movie for quite a while, and not just like the surface level fear that came from it, but like just sort of the meaning behind the film and what it's about, and like family stuff and relationships with parents and children and everything. Like, yeah, there's a lot there. So.
Yeah.
Highly recommend that. Then El Camino. I'm assuming we'll probably talk about that. I think
Sure, yeah.
most
let's talk
of
about
us.
it now,
Tyler, you have not seen Breaking Bad
I
yet,
have
right?
not. No,
Okay.
I've seen the first 3 episodes probably 4 times.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So I know a lot of us did watch El Camino.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. We kind of talked about it before we started watching earlier tonight, but. I think I do recommend it. I don't think that I was as high on it as other people were. I think that for me, it felt good as just kind of a brief sort of epilogue to Breaking Bad. I don't think that it really added much, or it didn't take anything away. It was just kind of. It is what it is. I felt like it was a little more fan servicey than I thought it was going to be. Not as story driven, which is what I really enjoyed about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But yeah, it was good. Check it out if you're a Breaking Bad fan. I think you'll enjoy it. I don't think there's, in my opinion, I don't think there's much more than that to get out of it. But you might have a different opinion.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it probably more than that. I think that, like you said, I think it's a totally like unnecessary thing. But for what this could have been, I am very pleased with what we got. And I think just craft wise, it's that thing. It's a slow movie too. Like it takes itself very slow. It's very deliberately paced, which I appreciate. And I think it's great that Aaron Paul gets to play that character again.
Yeah.
I
the only
don't
way he's
want to
getting
say
casting
that, but
as, yeah.
I'm
but
watching
yeah.
Westworld season 3 for him. That's how much
Is
I love
he in
Aaron
that?
Paul.
Oh wow. But he's great. Like he really is. I think he's really great as that character. And so I think for me it was really fun to see him as that again.
One thing, just sorry,
Yeah,
quick
no, go
interruption. I can't remember the actor's name that plays the character Todd.
Jesse
Jesse
Plemons.
Plemons.
Yes, Jesse. His weight gain was actually really off-putting for me.
Really noticeable.
Because it's supposed to be all these flashbacks and stuff that you're seeing, and like that was rough to see that visually, and like you can tell they kind of ease you into it with the opening scene or the scene where Jesse's like in the cage and you see Todd above him, and it's kind of like. Is he really?
Even Aaron Paul, though. I mean, these people are just like, we're all kind
Aaron,
of rich,
right? Yeah,
and he's very
Skinny
Kristen
Pete,
Dunst.
if anything, has become more of a
He's
Skinny
been doing
Pete.
great. He's been keeping up on his cigarette diet. I assume
Just eating 2 cigarettes a day is it?
cigarettes and tackies is all he consumes.
Hey, I consider character weight gain or loss a spoiler, so
Oh,
please
sorry,
be more
spoiler.
careful.
Did you
next
not watch
time.
it?
No, I haven't seen it yet, Mitchell.
I couldn't remember for the pre-discussion we had. Here's all I would say about this.
do in the FBI.
I overall really enjoyed it. I was wondering what this was going to be because if anything, I thought it could hurt things.
Yeah.
It makes you feel the things maybe in a fan servicey way, but also it creates those tensions that Vince Gilligan is so good at. It looks good. I will say I wanted the movie to start where it ended, and I like the way Jesse's story ended because I guess it's not spoiler. He's driving off and just yelling, and this guttural yell because he's escaped, and you think of course there's like going to be some more steps before he gets away, but like that to me was really beautiful. So some of this was really unneeded, but I thought it was well executed. It was fun. I was glad we got to see the characters we needed. There was definitely some heavy-handed elements that they used to make that happen, but I'm a huge Jesse Plemons fan, and I have been. I need to watch Fargo season 2, but since Friday Night Lights, he's so good in Game Night. He's such a random actor who is just really fun to see do his thing, and he can kind of do it all.
Yeah. I think also, if nothing else, I would love to see Vince Gilligan do some stuff, do movies.
I think Saul is nearing its end. Like, you don't want that to go too long.
Yeah.
And I would hope, and I don't watch Saul, so I don't, like, there's nothing indicative of me that it's ending, but it's kind of been the rumblings. But I listened to a podcast, and this guy was a music critic and then a movie critic and a podcaster, and now he actually is shooting a show called Briar Patch for USA, and it's produced by Sam Esmail, who did iRobot. So his name's Andy Greenwald. I'm a big fan, and he was talking to his production crew because he's in Albuquerque. He knew this was all coming because it was quite secret for a while.
Yeah.
He was like, everyone I work with works on all these shows, and he's like, I would be shocked if Vince Gilligan doesn't do something else in this world. A lot of people have said he might actually go with a full Spanish show and do some more history of some of those characters, which would be cool, but it's a world that I think he's proven he is creative enough to work within without going and hurting what Breaking Bad is. Because El Camino, if anything, it doesn't do anything bad for this expanded universe. Yeah. Which it's impressive. How do you take a meth show and then make this fake lawyer show? And both are so good.
It's true. He really is. He's great.
I wonder if he will do movies now.
Yeah, I think he can. I think that's what El Camino proves for sure, is that he can do that shorter form for sure. Riley, what did you have for recommendations this week?
I went and saw The Addams Family this week.
Oh, the animated?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was delightful. And there's a lot of like adult humor in it that's really funny. So yeah, if you want something lighthearted and great, you should go see that.
And Halloweeny still. Yeah.
Pretty spooky.
Cool. That trailer actually looked more interesting than I thought it would when I saw it, so that's cool. I'm glad that's pretty good. Marcus, what do you have for us for recommendations?
So Tyler and I watched Seven Psychopaths.
We did, yes.
And it was
So the first time you've seen it?
I had never seen it before. And I cannot believe I had never seen it before because
so
it
good.
was amazing. Peak Walken. Peak Christopher Walken.
For sure.
If you think of the greatest phrases you could ever imagine coming out of his mouth, they're in that movie. It is extremely well written. It's very entertaining. It's really dark at some points, but man, Seven Psychopaths is a great movie.
Yeah. Incredibly meta, too. Like,
Yes.
that entire movie is really... It's just the shit I like of stuff being ultra aware that it is a thing. God. Yeah.
Have you seen his other movies?
Yes.
I think you've seen 3 Billboards. Have you seen In Bruges?
Yes. I actually saw In Bruges first, oddly enough, because I feel like that one's not as recognized as these two. I don't know, actually.
I mean, I think that one kind of provided the groundswell for like the
Right.
rest of
It
his
was
stuff,
his first
so.
movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But man, they're all good.
Yeah. He's a great playwright too. Check out The Cripple of Inishman. It's fucked up. If you think any of the stuff in his movies like crosses line, his plays are
Oh shit.
minefields. They're insane. Yeah, I love that movie. That's a really fun movie. Tom Waits also is in that in just
I
a
love Tom
delightful
Waits.
role. What the fuck?
He's good.
You didn't take me seriously because I carry a rabbit around. That's one of my favorite lines. Anything else?
No, that was pretty much
Okay.
it for me.
Okay, cool. I've got kind of random recommendations this week. But I actually rewatched RoboCop and Starship Troopers this week.
All right.
Two absolutely incredible movies that I really love. They're both directed by Paul Verhoeven and written by Ed Neumeyer, and both are just incredible pieces of satire. I think probably some of my favorite satire. RoboCop. I mean, if you're only going to watch one of these, if you're interested in the better one, I think RoboCop is the better movie, even though Starship Troopers, as far as satire goes, like way deeper into some. You can read that entire movie as just the movie itself is propaganda for future Army, and fuck, it's so good. But RoboCop is incredible. You should watch it because Ray Wise plays a fucking gangster ass dude in it.
Hell yeah!
Red from that 70s show is one of the primary villains of that movie, and Miguel Ferrer is a fucking just cutthroat businessman who creates RoboCop. Wow. And that movie is great. Pretty much from every aspect. It's a really tight movie. It clips along. There's no dead air in that movie at all. And it's just really it's a really great movie. Like I don't know what else to say about it. Just you should watch it. It's very violent. Part of the satire of that movie is in its treatment of violence. And it's tough to watch at some points. And I actually listened to an interview. The writer was on Harmontown like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. But he was talking about there's a scene early in that movie in the first act where the man who becomes RoboCop is killed. And they basically torture him before he dies. And he said in test screenings, they had tons of people walking out in that scene. And so they went in and they had these scenes that were just literal shots of blood, like splashing onto the floor. They cut all those scenes and they had no more people walk out.
Wow.
Just a little movie, behind the scenes thing of like just weird stuff like that. Anyways, that movie's really good, and you should watch it. And also, I've been revisiting my fall. There's 3 things I revisit every fall that I've started this week. Over the Garden Wall, which is a delightful animated show.
There's a podcast on that.
Yeah, there is. Sorry, I'm late. That's really great. I have been... Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on? I started playing Night in the Woods, which is a video game that's really great. Just really great writing and story in that. Even if you're not into video games, it's really good. And reading the book House of Leaves, which is a fucking surreal head trip of a book that everyone should read once. But yeah, so check those out. Any other recommendations? Do you guys think of anything good?
I just watched Terrace House and SpongeBob this week. That's it.
Sounds like a good week.
If you're not watching those every week at this point, like that's just assumed. I feel like is that we're recommending Terrace House and SpongeBob. The first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, I'd say.
I think even the beginning of 4 is actually decent.
Okay.
Like the first 8 or so are actually good, and then it stopped for a while, I think, and then it came back with the best day ever, and that was the worst day ever.
Yeah. I remember, how weird is it that I remember the marketing campaign and push for that best day ever episode of SpongeBob?
Yep.
It was bad.
It's bad.
But man, yeah, I just kind of didn't know. I was just in the mood for SpongeBob, and I knew 4 episodes I wanted to watch, and I went through and I found them all.
Which 4? I got
Sailor Mouth was one of them.
Okay, yep, very good.
What were the others? I totally forgot. It was super late when I started these, and Katie was with me. She's like, "We're watching SpongeBob," and I'm like, and she never really got into it as much as I did. And I haven't talked to her about it because it was really late. We just kind of
He was several bong hits deeper then.
She had fallen asleep during the last episode, and I was pretty much asleep almost. So I turned off and went to bed. So I don't know how. I think she laughed. It's a good sign, right?
Is it on Netflix?
Amazon Prime.
has it.
Amazon
and it's
Prime.
awesome. I'm trying to remember the other episodes because I know
watch Band Geeks.
Love Band
No, I had recently watched
Okay.
Band Geeks, so I didn't watch that one.
The harmonica gag in Band Geeks is one of my favorite.
That whole
comedic
episode
moments
is
in
incredible.
anything.
It's-
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
So
the
good.
one where he gets the bubble hat with Smitty Wibberman Jensen.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
I watched that
He
one.
was number one.
Yeah, I watched the chocolate sale one.
Great.
Chocolate.
Because that's the bit I probably quote the most.
Yeah.
Is your mother home? Hey, Mom! Chocolate. I remember when they first invented. Yeah. Anyway, I'll just like quote that randomly, and people think I'm insane. But yeah. So go watch. Yeah, I have recommendations. Go watch those 3 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants on Amazon Prime, and Terrace House is wonderful. I'm moving so slow. I just watched episode 4 or 5, I think.
Okay.
Where one character in a drunken stupor at 3 a.m. of card games asks another to be their boyfriend. And that's where the episode ends. So I'm like, still like, what happened?
So intense.
I wish I could speak Japanese so I could imitate her voice.
Please don't try. Okay, sorry. You like breathed in, and I was like, no.
If he does it now, it's easy to cut. So that's good.
I'm like the Twin Peaks racist character. Yeah. What was that guy's name?
You're the Catherine Martell.
That I
the,
didn't
the
know was the other
Mr. Oh man, what's his name?
Tajimura?
Tajimura.
I have 2 quick things. One, Big Mouth is back. Not everyone loves it, which I'm shocked by because it seems to be pretty popular. Man, it's It's like it's my terrible humor. It's just so good. And then I want to know: are there any updates to the rumor mill that you put us on?
So there is not. This week has been pretty quiet. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I would be shocked if there wasn't something planned for the 30th anniversary outside of the box sets that have already been announced.
When is that?
The 30th anniversary is April 8th.
Okay.
Next year will be the 30th anniversary. So yeah, it's been pretty quiet this week. But there are people who are still holding on to hope because Sabrina Sutherland, one of the producers, is very militant about squashing these rumors when they come up, and she has not said anything. So who knows?
Silence can be the loudest.
I mean, considering the passing of what's his face, like, if there was anything planned for this week, they probably pulled it
Robert
up.
Forster.
Yeah.
Who is just in so many things that I didn't realize.
Yeah. He's that recognizable
he's in El
face.
Camino.
He's in El Camino,
Yeah.
Great in El Camino. I love his part.
He is.
But yeah. So, but yeah, we'll keep you if I find anything else out, I'll make sure to bring it up and send you guys stuff. But yeah, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and adjourn until next week then when we finish up Twin Peaks. Holy shit. Signing off. This is me, Tyler Harris, with
Marcus Marinos.
Riley Harris.
Tyler McKinley.
Mitchell Marshall.
Justin Hammer.
See you fucks later.
The fuckers are at it again. Goodbye, my sons.